Hey everybody, and welcome to a gaping wild ride with Steve-O. This one is off the charts insane. No other way to put it. And we were just being our crazy selves for quite a while before old Scott Randolph says, what's going on with Bam? And then the floodgates just opened and nobody picked up a filter, and it just got even crazier. So strap on your seatbelts for this one. And as a side note, I want you to know that this week is the launch of the bucket list campaign with the pre-order ready to go, the trailer out. Oh man, can you not believe how insane the bucket list is? And if you think I seem like I look really good right now, for those of you only listening, for those of you watching, you're thinking I look good right now. It's because this outer layer is from OUTERKNOWN. And man, are these clothes epic. My buddy Kelly Slater runs this company. And for my friends and my listeners from Kelly Slater, you can get 25% off your order from OUTERKNOWN. If you go to outerknown.com/Steve-O and use the promo code Steve-O. You'd be crazy not to do it because these clothes are insanely epic, totally sustainable, just all good practices. They treat people and the environment right, and the clothes are amazing. So one more time, go to outerknown.com/Steve-O and use the promo code Steve-O at checkout for a full 25% off your order. Now, get ready, because this is about to get nuts. People of the universe, I bring you Brandon Novak.
I'm fucking stoked to be here, boys.
Yeah, dude.
Good to see you.
It's been a minute.
People of the universe.
Yep.
You like saying that?
That's my new thing, man.
It's all inclusive.
I was asking the boys, how many people... What was the question I asked you guys? How many humanoids have there been since the beginning of time? Can you take a guess?
What's a humanoid?
Like a human. I don't know why I said humanoids.
Since the beginning of time, so...
Like humans, not like Neanderthal, like, I guess, like humans. I don't know why I said humanoids.
Okay.
So there's 8 billion right now, 7.8.
I think it...
I thought there was 9.
No, there's way more.
I thought there was over 9.
Yeah, there's 9.
No, there's not 9 billion people. How many
No,
people
I think it was 7.8. I thought it was 8,
I
but
think it's more like 9.
Okay.
I'm with Steve-O.
Isaac, what are you
I was just-
sleeping?
what are you doing?
You want me to Google this?
Dad, what the hell do you think you're on the computer for?
How many
Jesus.
people are in the world today? 7.8.
7.8. Okay, so
So how many people?
I stand corrected. How many people
COVID did a
have there
number.
been? I mean, give me a time frame, dude.
Probably 200,000 years.
No. Well,
The last 200,000 years is probably when they discovered the first human skull.
okay,
Right?
how many people have there ever been?
Yeah. What's your guess?
Are we talking a trillion? No.
that's what I said.
That's a dumb shit Vinny said. I just kidding.
I mean, come on.
Isaac said 90 billion. Vinny said a trillion.
I will land in between.
It's like 500 billion.
I'm not going to go that high. I'm going to say in the last 200,000 years, there have been 175
Ooh.
billion.
What do you say?
Ooh, maybe that's a little high.
Oh.
I'm like strangely turned on right now with this conversation. I don't know why.
Yeah, it's one of those. You want me to just give it to you?
Yeah.
117 billion people.
Wow.
What did you
See, I would've
I
guessed
said
way more.
175, but that would mean that Isaac won. Right? Who's closer?
I was under. I was under when I guessed 95, but Scott was over.
I said 120.
at a closer guess.
I said Scott got the closest.
Well, I was listening to a debate, and they're like debating this.
All right.
But I was just interested. Anyway, how are you?
This
Scott got
conversation
the
was way
answer
out of my
and then
realm.
guessed.
I was thinking my math skills go as far as I used to be really good at 15s because I would buy $15 bags of heroin. So I could do 15, 30, 45, 60, 75. Once you got to the billions and they laughed at your trillion, I'm like, dude, I don't even really know what a fucking trillion is.
Wait a second. You did heroin?
No, dude, no.
Okay.
Did somebody say heroin?
What was your longest time that you spent in jail, Brandon?
A few months over a year.
A few months over a year?
That was
Yeah.
consecutive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So at that point, I had made it. I had graduated to the penitentiary.
For sure.
Yeah.
Wow,
What? Because after, if you get a year or more, you don't go to county. You go to the.
Yeah.
county jail is by definition for under a year.
Yep.
Over a year, by definition, is prison.
What was your longest?
10 days.
10 days.
Oof.
Vinny?
6 months.
Jesus.
Okay, so when you went down for this penitentiary bid,
Yeah.
you were aware that you were going, you had to surrender yourself. You knew that you were going,
No.
or you didn't.
So I was actually fighting the case. I'd originally the charge stemmed from a prescription fraud. Right. I had a buddy of mine had stole a pad from a doctor and he penciled out me a few Percocets. And
A few being.
yeah, I didn't like it was from a dentist pad, so you couldn't write like a big script. So it was like 10 or 15 because it was for like the oxycodone 30 milligrams, which is like a higher amount or dosage than a dentist would normally ever write. So you had to kind of keep it like mellow to not look suspicious. And I had went to the pharmacy. It was actually during the time we were filming.
Number 2.
Yeah, Jackass #2, and I was ill one day, and I had this leather jacket on with all these different pockets, and I was like rummaging through my stuff, hoping to find something.
Now, when you say ill, you mean dope sick?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, withdrawing, and I was trying to find something to hold me over through the day, and I found this pad, this piece of paper, so I went to the pharmacy down the street, and
You
walked.
committed fraud.
Yeah, totally. Undermine that.
But you wrote it out yourself?
No, it was already written out.
Oh.
But it didn't matter. It was I intentionally
Okay.
handed it over.
So you committed fraud.
Yes.
You pled not guilty when you knew damn well that you were guilty.
I forget what my plead was, but I was fighting it, and my lawyer ultimately got me a sentence of 11 and a half months to 23, but I was going to serve 30 weekends and 6 months house arrest is what it equated to.
Oh, so you had ample opportunity to put your prison pocket to use.
And that's exactly one of the reasons why I ended up going to prison.
So every little weekend release,
Yeah,
you'd
yeah.
load up the prison pocket.
All day long, which was really just prolonging the inevitable, because when I got sober, I actually had to have hemorrhoid surgery because my asshole doubled as a suitcase for so many years.
Yeah, what's the most you put up there?
It wasn't about how much, it was really the way that I put it up there. Like, it was just raw and
Just
rough. It was like a raping.
Aggressive.
Yeah, very aggressive.
Sack of rocks.
What was your process though? Did you have to like make a little what they call a bullet?
Dude, my process was just quick and fast. Like,
for
I'd
sure.
sit in the parking lot of the jail, and my buddy would be dropping me off, and I'd rip off the cigarette pack, the cellophane, and I'd throw the bags in there, and I'd take a lighter and I'd light that to make
Jesus.
which is think about the edge like a burnt,
Yeah.
and then just
Yeah.
spit on it and just shove it up. Yeah.
It's like a butthole key bump.
Spit on it.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, dude, one time we were on tour with Fuckface Unstoppable, and we were in Europe, and we happened to be in this area where they sold a lot of smack, and I didn't have any money. I'm like, bam, give me $100. He's like, fuck no, I know what you want it for, and I wouldn't leave him alone. And he's like, shove this rock up your ass, I'll give you $100. I shoved the rock up my ass.
A real friend.
He really cared about my well-being that day, and we have all this on footage too. Actually,
thank God.
So I then go get the heroin, forget about the rock being up my ass, and I
Wait, whoa, hold on a second. You forgot the rock was up your ass.
yeah, because I'm like comatose at this point.
Yeah.
$100 worth of smacks, like.
Yeah.
So we do the show, and all of a sudden, I would open up for Fuckface, and I would come out as Phil Collins. You know Phil Collins, that song "In the Air of the Night"?
Yeah.
Because I would go on tour with those guys, but I was just the fucking biggest asshole because there was no relevance or connection with me with the tour. Like, I played no music. I was in no instruments.
I mean, I'm not going to go that far. There's absolutely a relevance and a connection. Like, you're in Bam's world, and it's like you're opening up the show with craziness. The show is all about being crazy.
Well, I wasn't opening it yet. This is the build up to where I found my place in that tour bus, because I would just, like, Bam was about it, and I'm his best friend, so he just let me do whatever. But the rest of the guys in the band who actually cared about playing music fucking couldn't stand me because I just, like, made life hell, and they had to endure my shit.
Was Jess in the band?
Jess, Chad.
Oh, wow, Chad Ginsburg.
And Chad actually came up with this idea. They're like, Novak, you have to do something besides just be hell for us. So why don't you, like, open up for us? And I'm like, all right, but I don't play any, have no, like...
You're like G.G. Allen.
So here we go. You did. You spotted. You got it. Man. He gets it. So we're like, all right, instead of Phil Collins, you're going to be Pill Collins. And you're going to open up, and you're going to come out on stage with, like, if it's at 18 and over, you'll be naked. But if it's a 21 and over, you'll be naked. But if it's 18 and over, you have to wear a pair of thongs, a bottle of wine, because that's all I drank, and the cigs, and just lip song. I mean, I'd sing along karaoke in the air of the night, and just throw my wine and fucking smoke, and just be a G.G. Allen, and intro the band. And as the big, like, doo-doo-doo-doo-doo would come on, I'd intro Bam, and he'd run out and drop kick me, and then the fucking concert would kick off.
Did you get any permanent damage from being drop kicked by Bam?
Not that I'm aware of.
I know that Dave England is acutely aware of.
Really?
He finally just had surgery on his neck.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think heroin helped me out in a lot of those
more
ways.
bendy.
Yeah, I was like a
It's
fucking
like
wet
a drunk
noodle.
in a fucking DUI crash.
That's why they always live.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm now designated to be this guy who opens up for the band, and while I'm doing the concert, and Bam jump kicks me, this fucking rock shoots out of my ass, and I start bleeding. I start bleeding all over the fucking concert, like for real.
How big was this rock?
It was just like that.
And did you have to spit on it to get it in?
I'm sure I spit on everything to get in my ass.
It was just like that. I can't even do that.
So it wasn't quite a pool ball. Not quite a cue ball.
That'd be impressive, though.
But absolutely a golf ball.
Yeah, it was like that.
It was a golf ball.
You know who filmed it? Chris Siegel. He was on that tour with us.
Chris, yeah,
and
yeah.
he has the footage. So my fiance at the time was on tour with us, and
You had a fiance?
yeah, at the time, that's why. Yeah, she's now no longer. She
When she died?
no. She came to her fucking senses and was like, dude, why am I with you? Like,
Right.
so she is like this really good woman, and we end up. They take me to the hospital. And Chris is filming the whole thing, and they have me in this room, and all these doctors come in. They're making their rounds, and I'm telling the
Did
story.
you have The Rock to show the doctors?
Nah, The Rock was long gone, but I was explaining the story. And
Man, that rock would probably be worth something today.
it was worth $100 that one day to my asshole. So I'm like, dude, I put this rock up my ass, and it's bleeding profusely, and they're looking at it, and my ex-fiance's there, and she's like, this is you're his ex-fiance? And she's like, yeah. And they say, could you come outside the room for a second? And they bring her out, and they're saying, he's saying it's from a rock, which has caused this, like, profuse bleeding and inflammatory situation. This isn't from a rock. It's from years and years of damage. Like, if you could, like, how could you be his fiance and he's enduring years of fucking damage to his asshole? Alluding to the fact that I might have been a homosexual and that I was lying.
Wow.
When you were on tour all those years, were there ever stops where you just couldn't find any dope? Where
Yeah,
you
yeah.
were That didn't scare you from touring like that? Because, like, when I was so strung out, I just didn't go anywhere because I had this fear that I would just be dope sick everywhere I went.
That's Vinny. But for me, I'll tell you, I will not go anywhere without my fume because I love it. It's a diffusive device that flavors air, and I love it. What's it for? It's for ditching bad habits. And I think right now you're listening to an episode of a podcast which inspires change. Positive change to become a happier, healthier you. And there's just about no better way than to affect this positive change than by trying Fume. This diffusive device is a way to replace nasty bad habits with positive good habits. And we got a killer deal for the listeners of the Wild Ride podcast. If it's time, and you know it, to drop that filthy, nasty habit that you're embarrassed of, then go to tryfume.com and use the promo code STEVO to get 10% off your journey pack. The journey pack. This is the journey that you're getting on to a happier, healthier you without that nasty bad habit that you're so embarrassed about that makes people have no respect for you. So let people respect you and respect yourself by going to tryfume.com and using the promo code STEVO for 10% off your journey pack. And by the way, I love these so much. I love this device so much. I don't go anywhere without it. And if you see me in public, ask me if it's in my pocket. And if it's not, I'll do your little shout out video for your dumb buddies because that's the kind of guy I am. Now, go to tryfume.com and use the promo code STEVO and let's get back to it.
Well, if we're going to weigh the scales of justice here, it was much easier to go without heroin in Finland than be in Baltimore letting men blow me for $10.
For sure.
So, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I'll just endure it because I'll get paid out of it and I'll just make it happen on the next go around.
There's no justice in that. we weighed nothing.
You started off sounding really
I was
smart.
expecting I was going to get some like that voice. Nothing. Fucking crickets to my guy.
Yeah, there's no justice weighed there.
But that's my, justification of...
So that was a go-to moneymaker in Baltimore, letting guys blow you.
Yeah.
But
it was
what about
easy.
what about guys that wanted you to blow them?
It never happened. It never...
Oh, we lost eye contact when you said that.
Let's weigh the scale of justice here.
Oh, fucking Tony
Lady
Robbins
Liberty.
Jr. over here. Set the record
Lady
straight.
Liberty over here.
I gotta believe that in that situation, it's like, all right, well, if a guy blowing you is $10, maybe like, hey, if I'm gonna...
Yeah.
If you're gonna be the blower,
Totally.
then that's gotta, everything's got a price.
Why do heroin addicts always itch their nose? Is that a thing? Where
Dude,
they're
I
always
used to itch everything. It wasn't just
Yeah,
my
yeah.
nose.
That's how opiates are called itchy and scratchies.
Yeah.
really?
Yep. And I was never really into it. It was annoying to me to be itching. I would take these morphine pills and I was just like, man, I don't want...
When would you take these morphine pills? You didn't get addicted? That's pretty rare.
I would take morphine pills when I was given them.
I loved it. I loved it. That was just, he would get annoyed with having to itch for morphine pills, but I can recall vividly being locked in a hotel with him and like him not like really letting us leave the room until we watched footage of him and being terrified of him seeing us out of eyesight. And
Nothing's changed.
that annoyed, but itching annoyed him.
Yeah.
God forbid he itches. Jesus Christ. And I'm the bad guy here.
Yeah, you've always been like that, huh?
Yeah. Imagine how bad it was before.
Dude, I remember being...
Okay, so walk us through some prison pocket stuff.
Okay, yeah.
We're particularly fascinated
Yeah.
because you might be aware about Vinny's experience with the prison pocket.
I am.
Did you see his reenactment of it?
I did. God bless you, man.
Yeah,
God-
that was a rough one. That reenactment was a lot bigger of a package than when I went into jail.
Yeah, a criminally underviewed video on my YouTube
I know,
channel.
dude.
Shocking
I know.
demonstration of how to smuggle things into prison.
Yeah.
The times are changing, maybe, boys.
I don't know, maybe it's suppressed.
Yeah, maybe.
People are like, I don't know.
So here's how. So I negotiate the 11 and a half to 23, 30 weekends, 6 months house arrest, right? while we're doing that, I'm still getting high. The suitcase, aka my asshole, is in full effect. Every Friday, I load it up with drugs, get in, sniff them, sleep my weekend away, discharge Sunday night. Monday night, religiously, we have that radio show on Sirius Satellite.
Yeah.
Radio Bam. I forget, it was a room maybe 2 times the size of this, and it's just like this, and there's a guy working the boards, and I forget that we're going live to the nation the majority of the time, and we'd be drinking, drugging, whatever, and you just forget. You feel like you're talking to your buddies. And I proceeded on one of these episodes to talk about how the COs, the white shirts of George W. Hill, the facility I was incarcerated in at the time, were worthless, and how my dead grandmother could do a better job than them, and how I was, in particular, sneaking my drugs in on the weekend.
Wow.
So that was a Monday night. I then go back on a Friday, and they say, Mr. Novak, get over here, when they're doing roll call for the intake. And I'm like, what? So they pull me out of this line. They put me in the other line. They then put me in the intake wing of just the regular population of the jail. And I'm in the cell, and I do my drugs. And Saturday, I'm just thinking it's a mix-up. Maybe, I don't know what's wrong. But there's a bang on the door, and there's one of those white shirts I was talking about. And they said, come with us. And they take me into this control room where there's a whole bunch of white shirts, all sergeants in there. They're standing in a circle, and they put me like in the middle. And there's a one who's sitting like in the corner on a computer, and he will not look at me. And you could tell he's the boss. And he starts repeating verbatim what I said on that radio show as the other ones just start smacking me around.
Oh, smacking around. Did they investigate your pocket? Did they?
No, they did. What they did was they.
So you had a fully loaded butthole.
I had already did it at that point because I had made it in. But they revoked my situation right there, basically, and made my next year a living hell. And that jail actually was rated one of the most corrupt jails because it was privately owned at the time. It's now publicly owned.
So there was no more storage.
No, there was no more release dates for me. And what they would do is they would move me to these different blocks. First, they put me in the SHU, special housing unit, where it's 23 and 1. I'm locked in a cell 23 hours a day. I can come out 1 hour a day, 1 day, 3 days a week to get a shower, and they unlock you. And you could only have a Bible if you had one. No reading materials, no commentary. And this is right in the beginning. So I'm detoxing from methadone, Xanax, and heroin at the same time. And I'm hallucinating. I'm thinking that the warden is sleeping with my ex-fiance. I'm thinking that I'm on The Price is Right. I'm feeding this imaginary pig that I named Minson. And
Minson?
Minson, yeah. And I have this cellie, and his name's Streets. He's this Muslim jihad guy, great guy. And he like caught me jerking off one day on the top cell. He's like, yo, you jerking off? I'm like, yeah. He's like, I feel some kind of fucking way about that. Not like any particular way, but just some kind of way. Like, it's a little vague. Give me a little bit of direction here. Are you mad? Are you happy? Where are we going with this?
Jesus.
And then so they put me from there to another block. And then once they realized they couldn't do anything more with me, they revoked my time. They would then come and they'd rip all the cell blocks apart just to make the other prisoners mad at me, because any block they put me on meant that I was hot and they were going to disrupt the block, you know?
So how long did it take you to detox in there?
In jail, it's easier to detox, you know, because you just accept the fact that, like, this is it. So, I mean, I was probably good within, like, 2 to 3 weeks. And then that's where I found out that Dunn had passed while I was on that.
Oh, wow.
When I was doing that bid.
Now, when you're locked up and you're done detoxing, do you have the thought, I'm like, okay, I'm done with this? Like, I'm done with this life. I'm never going back to that shit.
No. I was done with heroin and cocaine, but I was going to drink.
Yeah.
That was my plan.
So it sounds like that was not while filming number 2, but while filming number 3.
It was one of them, yeah.
Yeah.
My timeline's a little out
So
of
you didn't
line.
you didn't drink or do drugs for the rest of that bid
I did cocaine one time
in jail?
with another cellie of mine whose name was Jihad. He was a Muslim guy. And it was during the month of Ramadan, and I was fasting with him and like doing the prayers, and
And cocaine.
And then one day he brought a bag of coke in, and we like sat up all night and did coke, which is the worst thing to do in
Was it
jail.
good?
It was fucking hell. Like it's like doing coke on a plane. That's no fun.
I had a lot of fun doing cooking.
I was gonna say, me no. I could see you like loving that and just turning into a party.
I remember like during takeoff, because the plane's like kind of more loud and like like during takeoff I'd be like right in my seat, right in my seat. So yeah, that was a good amount of juicy war stories. We love that here.
Have you had any like super close like overdose calls?
Fuck yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
that was kind of like that was my goal every day. Was to like
Touch
try
the
to,
line
you
of
know,
death.
Anything but the dreaded underdose.
So true.
For sure.
So true.
Yeah.
So I figured out the method to like the easiest and most sure way to overdose, and that was 180 milligrams of methadone and like 3 bars of Xanax.
Jesus, dude.
When you say you're detoxing from
crazy.
methadone and heroin,
Yeah.
reminds me of the time I met Bob Cat Goldthwait.
Oh,
and,
boy.
And he says he offered me a piece of Nicorette, like the quit smoking gum.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, no, I'm good, dude. I don't want that. Like I was like, what? Are you quitting smoking? He says, no, I smoke too.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like he just loves it. Can't get enough nicotine.
Yeah.
My sponsor's like that. Can't just all the chew, the gum, the patch,
And smoke.
and smokes. I'm like, what the fuck? He's like, dude, I can't get enough.
Is that comparable to being on heroin and taking methadone?
Well, you can't really do it together. One kind of blocks out the other.
Right.
The methadone was more of just a safety net. Yeah.
Well, they give it to you for free, right?
If you're in the clinic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was like, I kind of knew, believe it or not, I knew better. I knew that was not the right avenue to take to make things better.
What? Go get it for free?
Just to be on the clinic.
Methadone in general.
They call it
I mean,
liquid.
Yeah.
They call it liquid handcuffs.
Liquid
It's super gnarly. My mom's been on it for like 30 years.
Still?
Yeah, she's still on it.
And
yeah.
it sounds like it probably works for your mom. maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely does work
Yeah.
for her. Like she hasn't like touched a needle in fucking 25 years, but I mean, she will be on it for the rest of her life.
What's that documentary about methadone? It's so gnarly.
Methadonia, maybe?
Methadonia.
Yeah.
That's
Wow.
exactly what it is. Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a gnarly documentary?
Yeah, and if I'm wrong, but I think the like the methadone like it soaks into your bones too, so it's a lot harder to
Dude,
detox from
I
methadone.
remember literally trying to knock myself out, like banging my head on the cement because the pain was so bad.
Yeah.
And this is why it fucks with your psyche.
Yeah.
For 7 days, I laid in my house and I was withdrawing, and I was feeling better and better and better as time went on. And then on that 8th day, I plummeted and felt like worse. You know what I mean? Like it just messed with your mind when you think that things should get better. It's just like quite the contrary. It gets tenfold worse. And
Yeah.
I couldn't. I literally was banging my head on the cement.
Yeah, it's tough.
So you got off methadone.
Yeah, by force in there. Yeah, I really didn't have any options.
Suboxone is like a pill form of
Yeah.
methadone. And then what's the other one?
There's a Subutex.
Subutex.
Yeah.
I mean, Sublocade is the shot.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you sponsor guys that are on Suboxone? Because if I talk to a guy and they're like, "Well, I'm on Suboxone," I'm like, I can't even fuck with you.
You know what I don't mess with is gimmicky, overpriced shaving products. And that's why I stick with Harry's. They're the shaving company with the highest satisfaction in the whole industry. And that's because they've got the highest quality, German-engineered razors, and they're at the most affordable price. I love Harry's. I've been using them for years, and I'm never going to stop, ever. Plus, they've got a killer deal for you, man. This starter kit, it's got the weighted ergonomic handle, the 5-blade razor, the traveling shave cover, the foaming shave gel. It's a $13 value for just $3, man. You get it for $3. And that's how cool Harry's is. Plus, an awesome subscription service, so you don't even have to think about it. You just get your products automatically, and you can cancel the subscription at any time. And keep in mind, they've got the risk-free money-back guarantee. That's how awesome Harry's is. I love them. I'm never going to use anything else. And get this deal by going to harrys.com/Stevo. Hurry up while you can get that starter kit for just $3. And the way to do it, harrys.com/Stevo. You're going to love it. Now, let's get back to it.
I sponsor anybody.
Really?
Really. I've sponsored guys that are like actively smoking herb but want to quit alcohol. I personally, and it's just my opinion, which doesn't really mean much, but I think that anyone can benefit from the knowledge.
Yeah. Fair point.
And who am I to say when it will be for it to take? You know, looking back in my first treatment center, when I went there strictly to prove a point why I didn't belong, there was a piece of knowledge that was shared with me then that was like forever going to impact me later. And when the time arrived where things aligned, it all made sense, and it stemmed from that one saying.
I can relate to that. My first time in rehab was 1995. I was 20. And this counselor says something along the lines of, you know, look around, like, there's 12 of you, only 10 are going to make it, or something like that, or like 95% of alcoholics never achieve long-term sobriety. And I just thought, like, well, then, you know, then screw that.
Yeah, fuck it.
You know, like if I was really into the idea, I got a 5% chance,
Yeah.
like, forget it. And those statistics, that thing that was said in that rehab in 1995, like, kept me loaded until the point that it kept me sober.
Yeah.
Because when I finally got like the willingness, when I was in that psych ward after Knoxville's intervention, I was like, man, okay, I'm going to do this. But I remembered those statistics. And I remember going into the rehab and saying, look, I know that the odds are not in my favor. I want to give myself every advantage I possibly can. So however long you recommend I be here, I want to stay considerably longer. And it was Dr. Drew who was in charge of the rehab. And he said, that's great, but if you're really, you know, serious, he says, I don't recommend you stay here for more than 30 days, but I do recommend after 30 days here, you go into a sober living. And I stayed in sober living until I had 2 years of sobriety. And again, it was just because, dude, like, I know those statistics, man. I want to be in that 5%.
Yeah.
I want to be, you know.
The perspective changed.
I remember when you did the Rip Ride podcast, when I was producing that one, and I was like not even a year sober, still living the sober living, and I just wanted to leave. I was like, oh, I want to get the fuck out of this house. And I remember asking you, I was like, why did you stay in sober living for 2 years? And what you said, like, struck a chord with me. You're like, I want to give myself the best chance at long-term sobriety.
Yeah.
So when you said that, it really like made me think, and I stayed for 3 years. Yeah.
So killer.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever heard of anybody who stayed in sober living until they had 2 years of sobriety who's not still sober today. And the crazy thing too, you know, what you just said, that you were like, you know, antsy, like, gotta get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
You know, those moments where I felt like super uncomfortable and I gotta get out of here were specifically the moments that I needed to be there the
Yeah.
most.
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
Because
totally.
it was 100% just the disease
Yeah.
just sitting on my shoulder and be like, dude, you got to get out of here.
Yeah.
Come on, you got to get out of here. I was 100% going to get loaded if I wasn't
Yeah.
in sober living at those moments.
Yeah.
And so thank God I was there. And all of the rest of the time, goddamn, life was so simple back then.
Wasn't it?
Life
know.
was so simple,
Yeah.
man. All I had
Yeah.
to do was just get through the day. Like, I had just lost, like, you know, half or more than half of whatever savings I had because I got sober in 2008. You know, it was the financial
Oh, yeah.
The financial crisis just wiped my shit out. Like, and somehow I was not even like, I don't remember being gripped by financial fear. I was just, life was just super simple.
Dude, I mean, at that time, for you and then for me later on, all that was expected in early sobriety was for my only job was to stay sober. And people
Right.
didn't even believe I could do that.
Right.
And they're like, you know, and then once I stayed sober, now like there's tons of responsibilities and things.
I want to ask
Yeah.
you guys' opinion on Matthew Perry dying in a bathtub.
Yeah.
I mean, at 54, dying in a bathtub, is that kind of like a...
I think that
Was that who's the girl that died in the bathtub? Whitney Houston? No.
Whitney Houston died in a bathtub.
But they said that was from cocaine, and she got into a hot bathtub, and like it caused her heart to stop.
Alright,
Joey
Aaron-
Diaz was saying something like that.
Aaron Carter died in a bathtub.
So when somebody dies in a bathtub, I mean, how do you, or a
I
hot
think there's
tub?
more. I think there's more like bathtubs and hot tubs, man.
How do you know anybody that died in a hot tub?
The chick from 8 Mile,
Brittany Murphy.
Brittany Murphy, did she die in a bathtub?
I don't
She
know.
was
I
cool.
think she was I don't know if it was in a bathtub, but that was an overdose, right?
Type in celebrities who have died in a bathtub or a hot tub.
Wonder if we'll ever hear anyone dying in an ice bath. I don't think you're gonna hear that.
No way, dude.
Wim Hof dies in a bucket.
No, dude. Like actually, people are overdosing. They're flopping around. They're about to die. They get tossed in an ice bath. They're,
It's like
they're good.
changes their life.
It's like the healthy Narcan.
yeah.
It's like the green juice of Narcan.
So what is that? Is that like you're fucked up, like drunk, and you fall asleep, or you're on pills and you pass out, or I mean, what?
I apologize for interrupting you. I'm very, very mindful about that. I care about the audience. I care about
You're mindful about apologizing, but you still interrupt.
Not so bad.
No, I'm just being funny. But you didn't interrupt me there.
I'm so much better, and I really care about it. With that said,
What that said.
with that said, I think that nobody is dying, drowning in a hot tub at
Sober.
54 years old, and they're clean and sober.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but I've been fucking shit faced in the hot tub, and like I'm not, like you wake up or.
I mean, they said already today that there was no illegal drugs on the scene, but in the house there was all kinds.
Yeah,
of...
and I think they even said there was no drugs in his system.
We don't know that.
We
for
don't know that
months.
yet?
We don't know
Oh,
that
for
for months
months.
until
Okay.
toxicology comes back. So in months they'll probably say, yeah, it was like all these prescription drugs that were on the scene. Now, here's something. I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah, what a shame.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought it up. There's something about like putting your story out there, like waving the flag of sobriety. He just had this memoir come out last year. I remember when I did the Steve-O Rise and Demise, or Demise and Rise. And it was like, I was like, oh man, this is so scary because there's like a really bad track record for celebrities who come out like waving their flag of sobriety and I'm all good now, like, and I was just wanted to be so careful about that, and it scares me to this day. So, what do you think, Brandon? The way that he's like, oh yeah, like, I mean, you're so front and center with it.
Yeah. The first about his untimely death, and really unfortunate, I think, is it's just so tragic because history has a way and tendency of kind of repeating itself. Generally, if you look at the analytics of that, and if that's the case, it's just really sad because it didn't have to be that way, right? Like that's a death that could have been completely unavoided, and it just, I don't know. I don't want to say that I can predict the future. For me, I just love drugs and alcohol so much, like insanely amounts of love and sick, twisted like relationship that and skateboarding were the two things that consumed me 24/7, ate it, breathed it, slept it, dreamt it, couldn't get enough of both. And then, when I got sober, I kind of just carried that mentality of like, this is just what I do and who I am. And I never really thought much about, the pronouncing it to the world and declaring this, I'm this sober guy. But I used very publicly. I hid it when I had to, but I never, that whole, anonymity wasn't really my bag personally. So I don't know. I can, everything that I'm saying, it could be like a complete belief and notion of mine, or it could just be me justifying or deflecting like the fact that maybe it could be a slippery slope.
For sure, but I also think with like people like you guys, with such a big following, like your guys' story has the potential to reach and help so many people. Like a lot of people look up to you guys, so and I would have to think a lot of them have some sort of drug addiction or mental whatever they're going through. They see guys like you know.
I think that there are arguments on both sides.
For sure.
Like, yeah, you know, lead by example, whatever, like inspire people by walking the walk. However, it gets really murky when you are pumping your sobriety out there to benefit, like with power, property, and prestige. Big, you know, like when, you know, and it just kind of felt like his memoir was like the way he was promoting it. I don't know. It felt kind of weird.
Well, they say, you know, that my history states that every time that I was consumed with the money, the property, and the prestige, I always was diverted from the primary purpose, which was to simply just stay sober, right? Because I had become completely sidelined with the glitz and the glamour, the women, the places, the things, and really all I was doing was just filling this internal void with that external solution. And there's no substance there. It always kind of...
Yeah. I mean, at your guys' level, I feel like it'd be hard to be anonymous. I mean, what do you...
Right.
What do
Yeah,
you,
I mean, I don't know.
What do you do?
And here I am being a total hypocrite because we're talking about sobriety and putting it out there. And, you know, like it gets very, very blurry. I think that my approach is just to not have that be like just my thing. You know,
Yeah.
like I remember before I got sober, James Hetfield from Metallica, he got sober. They had that Some Kind of Monster Metallica documentary.
I remember that.
And it was like, as much as it was a documentary about them finding a new bassist, recording a new album, it really was a documentary about James Hetfield's early recovery. And it showed him like super vulnerable, super afraid, and like he put that out there in the world, but he didn't start writing songs about the 12 steps, you know, like it was like he put that out there in the world and then he moved on and like was Metallica. He wasn't like, hey, I'm Mr. 12-step guy. He was James Hetfield from Metallica.
Yeah.
And I really latched onto that, you know, like I took that as my inspiration to put that Steve-O Demise and Rise out there. It was out there, and then I just went back to being like Steve-O, you know, doing my Jackass thing, you know, and by having that kind of a balance and keeping my professional life about like my professional life kind of separate from, you know, from recovery. That's why when you reached out to me, Brandon, about doing some gig, and it was like, oh, it was all about recovery. And I was like, yo, dude, just because they're selling tickets for it, like, I just can't, you know, I can't.
And
like,
I get that. Makes complete sense to me. I get it. And then I kind of look at it sometimes from the perspective of like, you know, in my recovery and the whole harm reduction world, it's like there's no margin for error, yet it's impossible to do perfect. And like usually when I find myself in these positions where I fucked up just the right amount, it takes me back to like my relationship with my higher power, which is where the real work comes from. You know, which is kind of where I'm at now because, you know, I opened that facility. And
I mean, how many sober livings do you have now?
6.
6 sober livings and a rehab?
Yeah. Yeah.
You have an inpatient rehab as well?
Yeah.
Wow, good for you.
Redemption.
That's sick.
Addiction treatment.
I love it.
Yeah.
So with that, right, like my defects, I'm a 44-year-old single man that lives with 3 cats, and my defects are like I'm not great at relationships. So when you were saying to Mr. Randolph here, I hear you and I'm sorry, that's my like 5 days a week to all my employees. They're like, you want to know what your defects are? Get into a fucking relationship. So God's like, all right, I'm going to give you like a facility and you're going to have to make all of your employees happy, and you're gonna have to make them seen and feel heard and let them know that their opinion matters and you know all the stuff that I'm not great at being a single selfish man a lot of times.
What about like people who attack you like on social media and so I've seen some
Sure.
comments where people are like, oh, Brandon, maybe even Bam was attacking you in this way, and that's like how, but like every time Brandon Novak puts somebody in rehab, he's getting paid by their insurance. Like you're like, I don't know if he ever called you like a Florida Shuffle guy, but then it's like, so profiting off putting people in the rehab, what was it called, Banyans?
Yeah. Is who I worked with before.
And then it's like, and then getting these houses for sober living where he's got the drug addict residents who are living in the sober livings, like paying the mortgage so that he can own the houses. You're a real estate tycoon.
Yeah. Well, what I know is that, like, hurt people, right?
Right.
And so I totally, and I've been where people like that are at. Right, I've seen me do the same thing, so I get that. And truth be told, it's just couldn't be farther from reality. Like, there nowhere in this world does an insurance company cut you a check for sending someone to rehab. Like, it just doesn't work that way. So that's just not.
You don't get a finder's fee?
No, that's like insanely illegal.
Dude, a mentor in the program started. He was the first guy to start. We were walking and talking, and he was like, when they started doing like the $40,000-$50,000 a month sober living, he's like, I started that. And I was like, oh, don't you feel bad about people? He's like, no, why would I? He's like, people will pay $40,000-$50,000. Staying alive is expensive. And that's how he justified it in his head. And he has the biggest rehabs in the world. And he's like, he's at peace with it.
Sure. And even the whole piece about, you get the mortgage on the house and you've got the sober living business paying the mortgage bills. Like, I mean, when people go to sober living, they got to pay for the sober living.
Absolutely.
And so if that is going to be a mortgage as opposed to a rent, then big whoop, because they're going to pay it anyway. And so if you're smart enough to end up at the end of the run with the houses and you own the houses because you're able to use the houses to help people with the sober living, then screw it. You own a bunch of houses. That's right. Screw it. As a man in recovery, Brandon Novak has no issues with his business practices around his sober livings. And, I might add, as a man in recovery myself, I have no issues with my practices using BlueChew tablets. That's right, man. Doesn't even factor into the equation. When I want to be intimate with my lady and perform at my highest level, that's gosh dang darn right. I will take a BlueChew tablet, maybe even two, and I'll chew them up. About a half an hour later, you can bet I am very intimate with my lady. It's how it works, man. And if you want to try it, which I think you might, because who doesn't want to perform at their highest level? If you do, then the good news is you can get an entire month's supply of BlueChew tablets absolutely for free. All you pay is $5 for shipping. And man, you go to BlueChew.com, use the promo code STEVO, consult with the medical provider so everything's above board. You got your prescription in a matter of moments, and boom, an entire month's supply of BlueChew tablets on its way to you, absolutely for free. All you pay is $5 for shipping. Simple as that. Just go to BlueChew.com and use the promo code STEVO. Now, let's get back to it.
So that's exactly my play. Complete transparency and authenticity right here. The 6 houses that I own, they cost no more. I think the most I paid for any of them was $270, right? And these are 5-bedroom, 3 bathrooms, kind of old Victorian historic houses in Wilmington, Delaware. I charge each guy, there's no more than 10 people to a house. And each of those individuals pays $180 a week rent.
Now, are you strictly cash?
Yes, strictly cash, no insurance.
Yeah.
And that's the cheapest around.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
And no insurance. And I provide scholarships for the first month for any of the client in need. Because I understand that we don't end up there by way of fucking financial freedom, right? That's quite the contrary. So, although it costs me a little bit on the front end, I'm losing, on the back end, as long as I give them that month to kind of focus on their foundation of their recovery, the sobriety, and really their structure of long-term sobriety, they end up staying there for what I suggest is a minimum of a year, because that's what I did. Wasn't trying to reinvent the wheel, just redoing what worked for me. I don't have the answer here. I just know what my story looked like. And they stay, and they become consistent payers of rent. And what happens is I've pulled money out of those houses twice, and that was just in the beginning when I left Banyan to open up Redemption, to pay my bills, because I no longer had this income coming in. And those clients pay the mortgage. I don't even know what's in the accounts. So that the money that it costs for me to get the house is the upfront money. Once it's open and full, the clients pay the mortgages. Now, if you left treatment and you were going to move into an apartment, you need a minimum of $10,000 to do that. A minimum, upfront, furniture, first month, last month, security deposit,
Right.
good credit to get things turned on in your name. Generally, addicts burn those bridges, and no one's going to co-sign for them.
Right.
So I offer that.
If somebody came to me and was like, dude, I'll give you $50,000 for your house to turn it into rehab a month, I'd be like, it's a no-brainer, dude. 100%.
So my end game there is, I don't even know. I swear to God, I have no idea what's in that account now. My end game is that I can do one of three things. I could sell it as a franchise. I could just own the properties outright, or I could let someone else run it and let them just kind of do, and I just stop in and run courses or groups.
What does it look like for people in these sober livings? Like, how often are they being drug tested?
So each house has a house manager. The way they pay their rent is by living there free and basically babysitting the clients in the house. They have curfews. They have to attend 5 meetings a week. They have to have a sponsor. They have to actively be seeking employment. Chores. They have to work with their sponsors on the steps. And every Sunday night we have a check-in, and we go around and see who's where. Are you paying rent? Are you behind? Which step are you on? What's your sponsor's name? What's his number? We call them. This actually, November 4th, we're going to be having our 3-year anniversary party, which is it's
For house one?
For the first one opened literally November 4th, 3 years ago.
Now, each house is AA mandatory?
Any mandatory, just some program.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of different ways to skin a cat per se.
Sure.
I think. And for me, when I hear people say, hey, I'm Brandon, I'm an addict, I'm an alcoholic, it's like saying, hi, I'm Brandon, I'm a dog, I'm a German Shepherd. It's like, personally, it's just kind of one and the same. And it's a beautiful thing to be able to go from that guy who used to shove rocks up his ass for $100 and just do a lot of really unkind thing to human beings to hopefully leave this legacy of Novak's house, which just prides itself on literally helping any man in need as long as we have a bed.
Are you strictly male or are you co-ed?
Male, yeah. Co-ed's a whole other thing. And that's why I created Redemption, right? It wasn't because it was a money grab. It's a whole different beast. And as I evolve as a person, it's like now I'm in the world of like hiring a psych practitioner, a medical director, a clinical director, and I have a billing company that deals with the insurance companies, which they're like mobsters in itself, but that's a whole other conversation for a different time. But I saw, unfortunately, that the demand was there. My houses are full. There's a waiting list. I just didn't have more. And I'm like, dude, I've been around. I've been sober long enough to really believe that I can fucking do anything that I want. I could become a brain surgeon if I want. No doubt in my mind. And I'm like, I can do more and be better and help more. So I created Redemption. And it's just basically my house is on steroids.
How do people apply to get into your place?
The facility?
Yeah.
Just call. It's a treatment center.
Yeah.
So you can call. You can go to the
I'm trying
website.
to tee all up a plug for you.
Nah, I'm terrible at selling my shit. I just talking about shoving rocks up asses.
Do you have any future plans for like detoxes, outpatients, anything like that?
Yeah. I'll expand. I'll grow. Right now, I'm just trying to make sure that like my employees are happy. It's a startup. I've invested every dollar that I have. My 3 credit cards are maxed out at the moment. I have like just enough in my account to cover my bills this month. I had to give an employee a $20,000 raise because he took a $30,000 decrease in pay to come work for us. So it's just like I'm really learning how to take people's feelings into consideration. It's tough.
Yeah.
It's like I had to step out on faith. Like, it's easy to say, like, I believe in God or my higher power, because God can be a discouraging word. But, like, let me see you, like, show me how much you believe. And that's what I did.
What are some of the random ways people do to, like, pass drug tests? Because there's some things that, like, people do. Like, they pour Gatorade in there, and it's like, and it passes. And, you know, have you seen
Gatorade? Really?
My brother did that, like, in the 90s. He poured it in there, and it's like, yeah, he's clean. And
But it's blue.
well, no, it's
Well, the thing
yellow.
is, though, it's like we pissed the guys and women, but the piss tests don't even really matter, because the behaviors are going to tell you when you're fucking up. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
when I mean, it's good to know, and for clinical perspectives, we have to document it, and they have to, like, really that's the professional way. But I Thursday, dude, last week was tough, man. Thursday, 3 clients decided they were going to go out and smoke crack and do heroin. And then within like a 10-hour span, we had to isolate them. We had to separate them from the rest of the clients, because that can be like a disease that it kind of manifests throughout and pollutes the whole community. 2 chose to go to rehab. A 19-year-old kid just thought it was a better idea to walk down the street and continue to smoke crack. And that's like a sad thing, because the kid has a history of just overdosing. So we deal with that. We process that Friday in group, and then Friday night, another guy decides he's going to go and do heroin and overdoses, and the ambulance has to be called, and they have to give Narcan, and that's like really traumatic for people early in sobriety, and I didn't know that I was signing up for that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, they say when you get sober, buy a suit,
Totally.
because you're going to have to go to a lot
For
of
sure.
funerals.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, fucking weddings.
Have you had any like serious tragedies at your house?
Dude, so the anniversary, the 3-year anniversary that we'll have this November 4th will be in dedication to 3 of our residents that died. That's the reality.
Died in the house.
While in the house.
Wow.
1 in the house,
Yeah.
but the other 2
Yeah.
out, but lived at the house. And that's, everybody carries a message, you know, of
For
what
sure.
to do or what not to do. But for the grace of God, there go I. And that, you know, what initially upset me and turned me off about the program now incentivizes me and motivates me to be more proactive in my deal, to secure that, so I'm not their family coming to my funeral.
How many house managers have relapsed in the house?
2. But now since then, we've now have a general house manager whose job is to solely oversee the house managers. Because we got to a point where
So he's like director of operations.
Yeah,
kinda.
we were kind of like lackadaisical, foolish on me to believe that, like, because they're the house manager, they're exempt from.
Well, especially when the highest rates of relapse are for people who work in recovery.
Yeah. My sponsor told me that in the beginning. I'll never forget it. And I
Crazy.
said, what do you think about this? And he's like, I think it's a bad idea. And I said, why? And he said, because the majority of people that work in treatment relapse. I said, why? And he said, because your work is not your recovery, and your
Yeah.
recovery is not your work. And the moment that line gets blurred,
Yep.
you're fucked.
Yeah.
But I knew that, and now, like, ignorance is no longer bliss. I'm to be held accountable for this information that I know. And
What's the craziest thing you've ever seen scoring drugs in the streets of Baltimore?
dude, one night I got stabbed. One night I got stabbed in the head.
One night I got stabbed in the head.
It was upstairs in this abandoned house. I was renting this room from this guy named Slim. It's an abandoned house, but I'd pay him $10 a night to sleep in this abandoned house. And it's like 4 a.m, and I'm leaving the house to go kind of secure my finances for the day, whether it's robbing, cheating, whatever I have to do. But I'm getting an early start, a head start of the day here.
Real go-getter.
Yeah, right? Forward thinker I am. And as I walk down the stairs, it's a really sad sight. There's a milk crate on the floor, and there's a piece of plywood on top of it. And there's this little Chinese store we would go to because there's no electricity, and we would buy these little 10-cent candles. And that room was used to get high. And I came down at 4 a.m, and Slim's at the table, this woman Annette, and this woman Robin, and a baby in a carriage, and they're smoking crack, and the baby's crying. And And Annette calls me. She said, come here. My other 2 friends who I was with, they left. They were outside. She said, come here. I want to talk to you. And with that, Robin, who had just, the woman with the baby, she had just got out of treatment. So she was pretty, like, had some weight on her. She yoked me up and put me in this headlock. And she's like, give me the money. And I had $10 hidden in my sock. And somehow they knew that. I don't know how they knew it. But I refused to give the $10 up. The baby's crying. They're smoking crack. It's 4 a.m. in this really, like, terrible part of Baltimore City. The baby's crying. I won't give the money. And then finally Robin says, Annette, give me the knife. And I'm like, I don't know what's happening. And Annette hands Robin what I think is a knife, who then proceeds to start stabbing me in the head. Finally, after like the 4th puncture, I pull the $10 out and I give it to him, and I see that she stabbed me in the head with an ink pen, and I like made it out.
Jesus.
You're like, oh, it's a pen. Give me
Yeah,
back my $10.
Fuck you.
Jesus, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. So, so business is good.
Unfortunately, it is. We're growing exponentially. We've been met with really open arms. And it comes back to the fact that I'm there every day. I love it. I run the first group every morning at 9 a.m. My office is like a humongous trigger. I remember I told you I love drugs and alcohol so much that I commissioned this photographer, and we went back to Baltimore, and he shot present day photos of the 2 corners where I bought all my heroin, which are still active drug shops. And I had them blown up so big that if you sit in my office, it's like a 3D version of like Google Images. You feel like you're in the hood buying, which probably isn't a great thing.
Yeah.
But I just have this sick, twisted, I showed my medical director the other day, or the psych practitioner, and he's like, you should, he's like this older African guy. He said, you should be very proud of that. And I was not expecting that from him.
Yeah.
He found it to be motivational.
Wait, what's the proximity of all the 6 houses?
Ironically enough, 13 minutes away from my facility is the first house. The first 2 houses, which 13 is my lucky number. It's my 13th treatment center I went to. The first 2 houses are directly across the street from each other. The 3rd house is right at the top of the street. The 4th house is a half a block over. The 5th house is half a block down, and the 6th is across from that. And I somewhat did that intentionally because I really wanted to create a sense of community and accountability, and for people who are like in the 6th house to interact with the people that are in the 1st and 2nd house, which are the intake houses, to show them that like what recovery can do. Because when you're in the 6th, 5th, or 4th house, you're established. You have a job, you have a car, you have a girlfriend, things that look appealing to early sobriety.
So it's structured such that you come through the house and you progress down the line.
Yes. Yeah.
How long do you until you move into the 2nd or the 3rd or the 4th house?
It's a case-by-case situation. Where are you at with the work, with the sponsor, with your rent? Are you actively participating in your sobriety? Do you have a home group? Do you have a commitment? A lot of things go into account. But what I've learned, and thank God, this is a real privileged problem to have. We don't have a lot of guys that come there and end up relapsing. We have a lot of guys that come there and just think that it's a little too structured for their liking.
I remember.
Yeah.
I remember checking into sober living for the first time and hearing about the curfews and the chores and this. And I remember thinking, man, I'm being treated like a child.
Yeah.
This is regular, man. They don't know,
Totally.
dude, who I am. And,
Yeah.
And God, I'm so glad that I just let that. Oh yeah, like I should be treated like a child, because left to my own devices, it's all bad.
For sure.
Little did you know they really knew who you were. Right? It's like, they don't know who I am. Motherfucker, we
Big
know
time.
you better than you know
Big
you.
time. I remember too, living in the sober living, I had a house slip. Like I'd have to go to meetings in there. Like if you've got like a house slip, a court card, something that you've got to document that you were at the meeting, then you put it in the basket. You come, and I remember it was a real hit to my ego at times to put my house slip in the basket because I thought everybody's looking at me, everybody's just hyper focused on me. They're gonna see me put my house slip in the basket, and it's gonna tell them that I'm here because I have to be here because but I'm not. Like I'm in sober living because it's my choice. So why do I have to house slip? And just so glad that I swallowed my pride every time that was a concern, and I just did it. You know,
Little do you
screw it.
know, they're probably just like, God damn it, here's another slip, which means I'm going to be later to meet this girl that I have a date with. Like, they could give a fuck less why you're there, what house you're in, or what your plan is.
Right. Oh, 100%.
Have you heard from Bam?
I have not. And the reason why is because I had to create some healthy boundaries, right?
In the last, because he just celebrated 60 days.
Yeah. There got to a point at the end where, you know, when we were talking, and I don't think he wasn't in a good place then. He was like really spewing this hateful stuff. And I'm like, this behavior isn't acceptable to me. Like,
Yeah.
I accept where he is as a human being, but I don't need to show up for that to take that.
Okay, for the record, did you crash his car?
Absolutely.
You did.
100%.
Okay.
And
Oh, is he going off about the car?
No,
still?
I just remember back in the day, and I
Right.
just never heard you address that. But I was wondering, I was like,
I absolutely did. And he easily, what he says is true. He could have reported the car stolen to the insurance company and got reimbursed.
Yeah.
He did not. I didn't go to jail. He ate that cost. But without me having to make this like fuck it. I mean, I'll just say it. On the 28th of every month, Phil receives a check from me from Financial Amends.
Oh, cool.
Which has been actively happening now, I'd say, for the past 2 years or maybe 3.
good for you.
Yeah, that's
So,
awesome.
but that's not something that I needed to, you know.
We can cut that out if you want to cut
I
it
don't
out.
care.
I was just trying to be funny, and it turned into this serious thing.
It's totally cool. And I really don't care either way. But I'd see people say that, and they'd come. And I took a note and lesson from you, which I do a lot, where I really stopped buying into social media. I stopped reading the comments. I stopped letting, because I saw you do that.
Yeah, dude, I do my best to avoid the comments, man.
So now I'm at the point where I'm trying to
He's like, yeah,
practice
good
like
call.
1 hour a day social media.
But Vinny,
Yeah.
now you got me worried. Like, what? Like,
No, dude, all good.
Do you read?
You really sold that.
Yeah.
So what? Bam reaches out to you and you don't pick up the phone, or?
No, I had to block him.
Oh wow.
Just because at the time when I did that, he was like really not exhibiting nice behaviors.
This is recently, right?
He had a fairly recent rant on Novak.
This
Oh,
probably maybe
really?
like 4 months ago ish.
Sounds about right.
But what I do believe is true now is that he is probably doing the best that I've seen him do in a long time, and the reason why is his skating. I can tell when he's like not just like standing on a board, get a shot of me.
I saw that, like that. It wasn't a melon. It was just, but it was just
It's an ollie over a hit, yeah.
That
I
was
mean, you know, it's like alcoholics. Like whatever you say doesn't matter, right?
Right.
But like your behaviors will tell me exactly how you're living. His skateboarding, I can tell when he's like thoroughly, sincerely skating, and he
Yeah.
only does that when he's doing better. The last time I saw him do that was when he was filming the Vice thing in Spain with Winkle. That was he's back there again. So
He looks good. You know, he looks good on his social media.
Here's the crazy thing: is that 2 days ago, my buddy Darby Allen,
Yeah, the
who's
wrestler.
the wrestler for AEW, and he's just a rad skater.
He's so
just a
sick.
rad guy.
The guy
yeah.
who went down the half pipe in a body bag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The vert wall quarter pipe
Yeah.
at Baker. I love that guy, and he's like pretty tight with Bam. He came over and he's skating the ramp a couple days ago, and I was like, hey man, I lost touch with Bam. You know, like I don't have a number for him. I don't have anything. You know, but I want Bam to see my ramp, dude. Can you like just text him this clip that I just shot of you skating? Where just text it to Bam. And Darby let me know that Bam got back to him, and he said, Bam asked was Steve-O talking shit about me? And Darby said, no, he wasn't. He just wants you to skate his ramp, or something like that. And I'm glad, man. I'm not here to talk shit.
Hey, I mean, right now. So, ironically enough, his girlfriend, this girlfriend that he has, who seems to be inciting some kind of motivation in him, messaged me the other day.
Oh,
She
wow.
DM'd me, and she said, this is like 3 days ago, and she's like, I just want you to know I've never met you. It's nice to meet you. I don't know what your past looks like, but Bam is like, you know, he misses you, and he talks about you often, and he smiles when conversations come up about you, you know, and that's nice. Yeah, I don't think that I will like want to re-entertain like a. No, who the fuck am I to say that? I'll show up for him whenever, like he did for me, and hopefully it will take somewhere along the line.
Yeah, the craziest part and why I brought up Darby Allin is that he told me Bam's got his alcohol monitor bracelet off.
I was shocked.
Oh, whoa.
He's got it off, and he isn't
Exactly.
wasted.
I
That's crazy.
I would have bet I even said I bet my sobriety when that bracelet comes off, he's right back to where he left off. And when I found that out, I was like,
Right.
wow, things are changing. Maybe.
Right. And I would say thank God for this court case. Thank God for this criminal court case, because I think Bam is legitimately terrified of getting wasted and ending up in jail because of it.
I've seen a lot of handcuffs create sobriety for people.
Big time.
Divinely inconvenienced.
Yeah, it's all also like, you know,
A nudge
when a
from
family.
the judge.
Well, it's like when the family stops enabling. That's when you usually get sober, you know, or when like your closest friends. So, of course, like a lawsuit from Jess, like I mean, it's a tough decision to make if you're Jess, but you have to do that kind of shit sometimes.
Not a lawsuit, criminal charges.
What's the difference?
One is,
Well, yeah, what is the difference?
I mean, the criminal courts deal with freedom, and civil courts deal with money. Like,
Well, regardless, because I remember I was telling the story, like, when I heard on Loveline Dr. Drew, and he was like, dude, like, if you have a family member that's a drunk and he keeps driving, call the cops on him, get him arrested, have him go to jail.
That's where I'm at.
And a lot of
Yeah.
people are like, I would never fucking do that to my, but it's like,
right.
bro, I mean, at the, 20th, 30th time, like, fuck that guy. Even if he's my brother, like, he's going to hurt somebody. And you can't just sit there and watch whatever the case may be, you know? And I had a call with a lady the other day. I used to work with her son, and the son wasn't responding to the text, and so I texted his mom, and I was like, hey, have you heard from so-and-so? And she's like, oh, he's in another rehab. And she was just venting. And I said, you ever thought about doing Al-Anon? They do not want to fucking hear about Al-Anon. And it's like, it's just a strange thing. Like they have this rationalization in their head that, I would never do that to my son, or I'd never, like, it's my baby. I don't want to, it's like, but you baby him, you bury him.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a big fan of things getting bad, right? Because for me, things had to get really bad before they got really good. And I adopted that mentality from my sponsor, my first sponsor. I was at the end, and I was in a bad way, and I was stranded at the airport, and I was really contemplating suicide. I had come up with a plan, and I had texted my sponsor, and I said, dude, I'm going to kill myself. I can't do it. And his response was a picture of a poppy plant. It's like, he always said to me, you never get between an alcoholic and their bottom. Ever. Ever, ever, ever. And that, for me, my experience states that I had to have repercussions for my actions. And without that, unmanageability for me is a Monday morning cup of tea. The pain has to be unfucking bearable.
Yeah.
Unbearable.
How were you going to do it? Kill yourself.
Oh.
I don't live yourself.
I had, when I had got sober, I had this bag, and it possessed my belongings. And in that bag, I was also an accessories whore, but I had 8 scarves. I liked scarves. I would tie off with them. I would use them as belts. But this day, I was going to go into the men's stall of the BWI airport where I was stranded and kind of like make this makeshift noose. Which it surely would have fucking failed, but in the bathroom stall, the very last one where businessmen hang their jackets while they shit, like I was gonna hang myself there.
You would have fell.
Yeah, it wouldn't have worked. I'm like frail, I'm sick, I couldn't tie a proper authentic knot to hold my weight.
Yeah, dude.
But that was it. I was done.
For sure.
Well, I think that as it relates to Bam, neither of us are mad at him.
No,
We want
love him
do
to
well.
And that's the thing. It sucks. I've been skating a lot lately, and I skate, and then I'm like, dude, I'd love to skate with him. He's a fun guy to skate with, and I believe and I hope that we'll get some sessions in at some point.
I just wish that there wasn't a wedge between him and his family. That's what hurts the most.
It's,
Like I can handle him, like, losing contact with me, but it's like, man, with all the, I mean, that's your mom, that's your dad, that's your brother. Like, come on, dude. Like, with that upsets me.
But when he talks shit about you guys, it's not real, right? Like, or do you get your feelings hurt sometimes?
I'm gonna reveal something here. There was I'm very good friends with this radio DJ, the radio host in Tampa, Mike Calta. Mike Calta hit me up. He said, "Hey, I've got a Bam coming into the studio tomorrow. Are you guys cool?" And I was like, "I don't even know if we're cool. I'd love it if you asked Bam." So Mike Calta asks Bam on the radio, "Are you cool with Steve-O?" Bam says, "I love Steve-O, but I went on tour with him, and he's supposed to pay me a bunch of money to go on tour, and then he put all the money he owes me into a trust fund for Phoenix, and I want to know why I did the work, I get the money, why are you trying to give it to Phoenix who can't even get it until he's 18. And like this upset me because that's calling me a liar and a thief. And it's simply not the case.
There's one thing you are not, and that's not a liar.
Yeah. Number one, there is no trust fund for Phoenix because Bam has refused to sign up on one being created. It just doesn't exist. So how I would have put money into a trust fund for Phoenix is there's no way. Number two, I absolutely paid Bam specifically on January 31st, because I asked Scott to look it up, and he got every damn penny that was promised to him 100% paid.
He was supposed to go somewhere else during that time, and you paid that guy double what he was owed or whatever that was.
Yeah, whatever. Like everything that was agreed to, I honored my word. And then 2 months after the fact, then I reached out and I said, "Hey, we've got these boards. We've got like some of these boards left over. I'm trying to figure out what to do with them." And I said, "I'll tell you." This is 2 months later. I said, "I'll tell you, with what's remaining of these skateboards, I'm happy to sell them, and I'll even sell unlimited more. But at this point, given all of what's happened, like I'm only gonna sell these boards if your half goes into a trust fund for Phoenix." This was in relation to transactions that had not happened, that moving forward in the future. And that marked specifically the moment when I lost contact with Bam. He was so outraged. I got a drunken call. He was so outraged, and I've never spoken to him since.
But he had the date. He had it mixed up.
He changed his number. Like I've had no communication with him. But I was so upset that I was so upset by what he said, mischaracterizing what happened on that Mike Calta show. I turned around and bought a cameo video from him.
That's amazing.
Can we play the clip here?
Yeah, we were making this. We were making this cameo video, which is such a
That's amazing.
It's
such a classic video. But
do we have it? Did he respond?
Yeah, we have it. We can play it from here.
Oh, that's so good.
Go to orders.
And it just said, "Hey, Steve-O says that you accused him of not paying you, and in fact, he
Well, you
Hello, dear Rando fan. It's Bam Margera here. And you know what? My parents handle my bills, and I haven't spoke to them since they took the other side in the courtroom. So I don't really know what's going on. But last time I checked, when I guess I was pretty bad on alcohol, they said that Steve-O was setting up a trust fund for Phoenix to get paid when he was 18. And I was like, but I did the tour, so why doesn't he pay me? Long story short, apparently everything worked out fine. But they sent the money to my parents, which I don't talk to, so everything is just great. And I love Steve-O. Rock and roll.
For the small fee of $50, Bam too will agree with you.
I
need to order like 10 of them now.
Yeah, you could do that.
I'm doing it, dude.
Dude, I didn't.
It's so good.
I didn't expect him to actually respond,
That's
but
brilliant.
what we wrote into the request was, "Hey, Steve-O says that you accused him of not paying you, but in fact he did on January 31st, and that he never even brought up a trust fund for Phoenix until
Hello,
months
dear
later."
Rando fan.
I-
It's Bam Margera
Yeah.
here.
Scroll up.
Yeah,
You know what?
Okay, dude, enough with that. Yeah.
Oh, so he did that, and then he went back and.
Well, no, I
still-
didn't expect him to okay. Hey, Bam, Steve-O said he's bummed you accused him of not paying you for going on tour with him. He says you got paid everything you were owed on exactly January 31st for both the shows and the boards you guys sold, and that he has the documentation. He said he didn't even bring up the trust fund until 2 months later. And that was only about selling additional boards after that point. He thinks you're out there calling him a liar and a thief. Can you make a video message to Steve-O that I can post and tag him? It hurts my heart that he's so upset.
I mean, what the fuck?
Who needs the
dude?
court of law when you have Cameo?
I didn't expect him to make the
That's
video.
That's
How fast did he
amazing.
respond?
Couple days.
We put a 24-hour
Yeah.
on it.
Oh, you pay a few extra bucks.
Yeah. And the 24 hours elapsed. I figured he was never going to respond to it, but I didn't care. I just wanted to I wanted to know that he got that information.
For sure.
Because I don't want him accusing me of something that I
Well,
didn't
when
do.
I sent that to you, I think your response was like, "Wow," you know, like you were
Yeah.
impressed with, you know, his.
When he
his
was on tour with us, did you see any glimmer of hope? Because he was hitting meetings with us every night. We were reading out of the big book. You know, he was
No.
sober. I'm pretty sure he was sober the whole time we were on the road.
He was sober the whole time on the road, but what's a telltale sign for me is when somebody blames other people for their problems.
Yeah.
And I unfortunately heard a lot of that, but I mean, I had a great time with them.
Yeah.
But that kind of goes back to the notion that I said earlier. You know, something that was a seed that was planted unbeknownst to me at that first attempt at treatment, where I went there strictly
Yeah.
to prove a point why I wasn't you fucking sober weird people, and
Yeah.
I didn't need what you do to have this good life. Ultimately ended up being like one of the main foundation stones in my recovery when the timing aligned. And
Right. And that's my answer to the question, is that I didn't see any glimmers of hope, but I felt strongly that we were planting
Sure.
seeds
Yeah.
that might later turn into something.
Well, he's probably going to see this. Do you guys have anything to say to him, or is that?
I mean, we said our thing, man. Like, I don't want anybody out there accusing me of something I didn't do. I cleared that up. And
You miss him, and
I'm rooting for him.
Yeah.
Like, our position is always going to be, hey,
it's always been the same.
yeah, if you can just get all we've ever wanted was for him to be happy, healthy, prosperous, have a good life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
End of story. And everybody's got a different approach to how you want to help somebody be happy and healthy and prosperous.
Yeah.
Some people think that enabling is the way to get that. Some people think tough love is the way to
Sure.
get that. You know, like who, you know,
None of us really know. And I hope we all want the same outcome.
I think everybody
yeah,
everybody absolutely wants, even the haters.
Yeah.
Even the haters on his Reddit
in their
page.
sick, weird way, they
Yeah.
want a good outcome too.
Yeah.
It's like we're all sick in our own way. And my sickness
Right.
is shown in different ways than Vinny's or Scott's or your, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So,
Not mine.
so there's no hard feelings. You know.
So
like,
bam, come skate the new ramp.
Yeah, come skate the ramp, man.
Yeah.
You know, the only thing is I want him happy, healthy, prosperous. I want him
That's
to
it.
have a relationship with his family.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's that.
Yeah, I support whatever it takes for him to be happy and have that reason to get out of bed every morning for like the lust of life. Like I support it.
Yep.
Well, you guys gonna go skate?
Yeah, dude.
man.
Let's do it, man.
Skate
I
myself.
gotta go. We have a double date with my friend Lisa Vanderpump.
Oh, I just went to
Oh.
her restaurant the other night.
Oh yeah, cool.
Yeah, Tom Tom. It was really good.
Where you going?
We're going over to her house.
Oh wow.
My plan is to bring my laptop computer and
And
force
show
her to
her-
watch
Show her footage of you.
For sure.
and film her reaction. So I can
I'm actually really surprised you didn't do it with Brandon.
Show him, the
Show him your
thing on
special.
here.
he came and saw the show on tour.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first time I knew that was real, that Steve showed his footage, I remember we were in some hotel.
It
and
was a
like-
nightmare.
It was 3.
I'm scarred.
3 or
and
4
I've
in the
seen some
morning.
shit, man.
No, it was 3 or 4 in the morning, and he was editing this YouTube video, and he made a cut to it for like a 3-second change, and he woke me up out of a dead of sleep. He's like, "Dude, check this out." And we watched the whole video. I'm like, "What'd you do?" He's like, "Hey, no, I changed that." I'm like, "Dude, you woke me up for like a
And he's
4-second."
sober. Imagine not sober. Dude,
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude. All right,
hey,
man.
shameless plug though, man. If anyone needs help, they can reach out to me and
Yeah,
my
dude.
team directly.
Hell yeah.
610-314-6747. Redemption Addiction Treatment Center.
We say that again because I rudely interrupted.
Yeah. 610-314-6747. Call me directly if you're looking for help or interested in learning more about my new treatment center, Redemption.
How much is a sponsorship?
$180 a week.
So times 4 is $720.
I do 15s. We've already established this.
Yeah, why don't you do
heroin ratios? $15.
So I did it last
You
time.
did. You and Steve-O
I'll
did it.
sponsor one more.
Really?
One more month for somebody.
I was so bummed your show got canceled, but I was going to bring all the guys from the houses. And
Yeah.
you were going to, I had the 2 guys that you both sponsored who were still there and sober, who were going to come. And they were so stoked. They're still sober. I would love to FaceTime you at some point with them.
Let me do one more month for somebody.
That'd be amazing.
And we can
God
connect me
send.
with your girl.
Yeah, that'd be really rad.
Cool.
I love you, boys. Thank you for the
Yeah,
platform.
yeah.
Thank you
This
for
is
the
great,
time.
Dog. And there you have it. Did you included all the cameo stuff? Did you put in the actual video?
Yeah.
It's nuts. It's nuts. That episode was nuts. And hey, man, if you're still here, you know that you are special to me. And did you hear me mention in the very beginning that the bucket list is going live? We got the trailer out there. We got the pre-sale going. You're going to get a better deal. Oh, you know what? Let me tell you. It's the same deal except if you use the promo code. What is the promo code? I think I'm making it up right now. Promo code. Huh?
Yeah, dude. Street team.
Ooh, I wonder if we can give the street team an even better deal. Let's do. I want to have multiple promo codes. Promo code Street Team. I'm gonna see if I can give the Street Team more money off. Yeah, and it's only gonna work for the first 48 hours. So you gotta be like on it quick. All right, Street Team. Promo code Street Team on the checkout of the bucket list special. Oh, it's so good. I love you guys.